welcome to Architects of Imagination, where we talk to the brilliant minds behind your favorite video games. And it is my great pleasure today to introduce my friend Mitch Gitelman. Welcome, Mitch.
Hello
there. Glad to have you on. So Mitch and I know each other from back in the day. I worked for Mitch at FASA Interactive on the Shadowrun FPS game back in, when did it ship? 2007, I think, something like that. An amazing studio, an amazing group of people. That was a great joy and a pleasure to work with you and that whole team and that game. Give us some memories from the Shadowrun days.
God, memories are heart-pounding, senses-shattering. Like how to piss off an audience thing. So hang on, think a minute. Like how to disrespect an audience in one easy lesson. But I learned a valuable lesson there, didn't I? Let's see. We had a really great crew. We really went through a fabulous hiring phase, and you were definitely part of that. And just a group that was really dedicated, like really just kind of like tearing into something with their teeth and making sure every facet of it was as good as they possibly could make it. I just love that dedication of that team, especially.
Yeah, there were some amazing heavy hitters in there, many of which have gone on to do, pretty big stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, the passion there was palpable. I've worked places where, for a lot of the people, this is a job, they're coming in to do a job. That was not the vibe at FASA. It was business time. We were making some shit.
Yeah, it really was. And we were just trying to, every studio I've ever run, and it's been several now, my whole mindset is we're going to do the best work of our lives today, right? And how do we set up an environment where we can all do the best work of our lives? And we were in it to win it, man. It was just like we wanted to be hardcore professional game developers, and this was our shot. At doing stuff, and just every single detail mattered to the nth degree.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember there being a lot of humor in there too. There was a lot of funny stuff going on behind the scenes. I think one memorable one was we had a big pop can from Abe's Odyssey.
Oh yeah,
that cola something, and somebody broke the build.
Yeah.
That got wheeled into your office and you had to deal with it until somebody else broke the build.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. And it was a strange production too, in my memory. Like there's a few times in my career where like, you've got it. You have a hit on your hands. And I think internally, as we played every Friday and Come On Game On was going down, and everyone would rush to the lab to get a seat in the multiplayer test, and you were palpably bummed if you were too late and you didn't get a shot.
Okay.
And just to go from, it was kind of shocking to go from the sense that we had magic, that we had something with greatness, to sort of what happened at launch, where it got critically kind of panned.
Yeah.
Numbers weren't big.
Yeah. I've had that experience more than once.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we got it. This is, I just shipped a game called The Lamplighters League and the Tower at the End of the World. Probably one of the very best games I've ever made. Right. Nobody's heard of it.
I spent a little bit of time in it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, but
what I'm talking about really is the tactical gameplay, the minute-by-minute tactical gameplay. It's probably the best, Hairbrained Schemes had ever done. And I like the narrative very much on that, too. It was fun working with the voice actors. But anyway, back to the Shadowrun first-person shooter. Yeah, well, that goes back to what I said before about how to disappoint an audience and disrespect an audience. I tried at one point to get the title changed.
Really? To something not Shadowrun?
To at least, my minimum bar was at least, let's call it Shadowrun Tactics. To give Shadowrun people like, okay, look, it's their tactics game. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
at that point, there was no talking to anybody.
Yeah, we got heat. A lot of the hardcore fans, like, this was not core Shadowrun stuff. There was some beef about it.
I just got an email, no exaggeration, DJ. I swear, my hand on my dog's head, this happened. I got an email yesterday from somebody apologizing for the way he treated me 20 years ago when we put out that game.
Really?
I swear, I just got
that is crazy
email from somebody saying, "Man, I treated you like shit. I turned the audience, like, I did everything I could to make you pay for what you did. And wow, I'm sorry."
Oh man. And ironically, it has become something of a cult classic. Like, there's still Mitch graced us with his presence in a recent AMA that we did on the game for its, I don't know, 20 year, and it's like 20 years later, there's still tournaments going on. There's still an active fan base.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild. Another memory for me in those days, it was the first time I think I'd ever even heard the term, but we had influencers into the office. I remember Dana was involved in that, and she got, I remember one of them, I can't remember who they were at the time, but one of them refused like the food in the hotel and paid for his own because he didn't want to, the sense of like bribery or corruption or something like that. Yeah, wild.
Crazy. Yeah, that was big. And our marketing budget got slashed to the bone for that. It's almost always the case. So, yeah, the reviews were very unkind. And I remember that was the same year that Counter-Strike, which Counter-Strike was that?
I'm not sure. I remember playing the OG Counter-Strike.
No, it was the update. Oh, come on. What's
like United Offensive or?
No. Like the big Counter-Strike game that sounds. Jeez. My brain, it just hurts. But what happened was the game came out and we got crapped on for having no single player campaign. And then no more than 2 or 3 months came by and the new Counter-Strike game came out with no single player campaign. It was lauded as genius.
Yeah. And we had some very Counter-Strike like mechanics too, like the round income upgrade stuff was pretty Counter-Strike.
There's races and there's the round and there's the buy every round and there's tech and magic and weapons and stuff. Yeah, that was a fun game. That was very cool. Never really got its due. Okay.
Yeah. Team Fortress, was that
That's the one. Thank you. My God, Team Fortress.
Which is a great game as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Holy crap. It deserves everything it's got.
And Mitch, I wanted to thank you, by the way, for kicking off my career in game effects. I had done some game stuff before that.
Yeah.
But FASA was my first job as an effects artist.
Oh, good God.
I was doing some effects in my previous job, and I guess enough to convince you guys that I could figure it out.
Figured it out.
Yeah.
I liked your work.
I'm proud of the work I did in that game. And it's led to, my whole career as an effects artist since. So thank you for kicking that off.
You're welcome.
Your trust in me.
That happens to me a lot. I've given a lot of people their first gig, or been part of it. And it's intensely cool, right? To see talent like you, like, blossom in your career and go do everything you've done. And to know that, there's a little part of that. It's intensely cool.
Hell yeah.
I'm not in it for the money or I'd have a different gig.
Yeah. Most of us don't. You hear stories about, Notch making Minecraft and, outbidding Jay-Z and Beyonce for his LA house. But I don't know anybody who gets in this to get rich. We get in this video because we love it, because we love playing them, because we're immersed in it, because we're addicted to it often.
You mentioned one of our friends, former senior producer or lead producer that we work with, Dana. And one of the things she says is unfortunately, game development is addicting because it is an unending series of really interesting problems to solve. And they're really interesting. And in my position, it was always, is it a human resource issue to solve? Is it a gameplay issue to solve? Is it an art pipeline issue to solve? Oh, we have a marketing and PR issue. Oh, wait, I've got a publisher problem to solve. Oh, I've got a team communication problem to solve. It's unending. It's always varied. And man, it had its hooks in me for 30 years.
Yeah, and you just retired. Congratulations on retirement.
Yeah, there's a betting pool out there, I think, on how long I'll stay retired.
What's the over under on
exactly Berger, our engineer, is like, what's the over under on Mitch?
That's awesome. We'll see what happens.
We'll see. I'm not bored yet.
Here's a leadership question for you too, and it touches on some things we just discussed. I think, a lot of the people get into video games because, in art or programming or design or leadership or producing, because they love it, they care about it, and there's an impulse in any job anywhere to sort of like move up the ladder, right? To become a senior, to become a lead.
Yep.
And video games, at some places, Activision has the title principal for someone who's, good enough, experienced enough, has the time put in to be a lead, but they're not necessarily leadership material.
Right.
So it's kind of
this is a cool person.
Yeah.
Person of distinction.
Yeah. Often they are someone. It's sort of, you at an individual level can affect the sales or rating of the game because your contribution. Talk about a little bit, a lot of us, me included, are sort of thrust into management, right? Like you work at a job, you excel at it, and now the team needs to get bigger, and you're the person that's there. So like, all right, now you're leading other people. And I certainly made some leadership mistakes. What advice can you give for new leads that are thrust into this? How can one learn to get good at that?
That's a great
with no background, no experience whatsoever in it.
That topic just came up last week. That's interesting. I was talking about this exact topic last week on social media, so maybe that influenced you. But this is one of the big things of the game industry, I think, is that as these indies or mid-level game teams, as they expand, well, you need a leadership layer. You need a management layer. And what almost invariably happens, and what happened to you, is somebody with talent go, okay, you're in charge now, buddy. Manage these other people and grow your team and stuff. And now you're thrust into a position where, like, I'm an effects artist. Communicating with people and following up on their work and having one-on-ones with them and growing them, as designers, that's, I don't know how to do that. So the problem with this industry also, and I can tell you as this former CEO that tried to solve this is, I created a management band in my studio, and I said to the HR manager, go find me some training programs for managers. And they brought me shit, just generic, like, just like traditional gross stuff. I'm like, no. And my HR manager, she was very diligent, but she also didn't know game development. She didn't know where to look. And the truth is, there really aren't, management programs out there for game developers so that it feels like they're talking your language and that they actually understand what QA is and how it interacts with dev or production, stuff like that. So you don't feel like you're really talking to somebody. And recently, Keith Fuller, Fuller, he started a training program for managers. It's a video program, but he could also customize it. So one thing to do is just look for that guy on LinkedIn, Keith Fuller. And the reason I say his name in particular is I've known him for about 20 years. I know what he's about, and I know he's on the right side of this stuff and has good thoughts. More than that, oddly enough, some of these talking heads, call them management influencers, actually have their shit together. Simon Sinek, Sinek. You can find them all over YouTube. You can find them all over Insta and TikTok and stuff like that. That guy has his head on straight. Brene Brown, not so much on leader. Well, no, she's got a thing called Dare to Lead, a podcast called Dare to Lead. And you could look into her stuff. But yeah, there's not a lot of management training programs out there. So you got to educate yourself, and to the basics. Go back to, go to Amazon, the 1 Minute Manager. The 1 Minute Manager, I think, teaches delegation, etc. Who moved my cheese? All these things from the 90s, which is how I learned management through the School of Hard Knocks. Just like you're saying, I just came up during the management fad, and just every book on audio, on a cassette, I listened to in my car, and I read all the books myself. So, I mean, there are places to go. I've been thinking of making one too. Just for new managers.
There might be a hole that could be filled there.
Yeah, I know. And I care about it a lot, because I was a manager before I was a game developer, right? I was kind of hit by this thunderbolt when I was 24. Like, oh, manager, that's like who you are. This is your deal. This is like a noble profession. Treating people the way they deserve to be treated and getting results, as a transaction. That's a thing, and people do it really poorly. And so I was totally into that. And then I became a game designer. And then Jordan Weissman, my former partner, he hired me to be the lead designer of Crimson Skies. And he and I were developing the concept docs for Crimson Skies. He was like, wait a minute. You know how to manage people? And all of a sudden I was a producer. And that's actually the start of my career as a producer. It's thanks to Jordan.
Okay.
Me to manage people instead of him.
Hell yeah. Well, if you wrote a book like that, I would fucking read it.
Cheers. Thank you. So yeah, that's my advice. Do your own research. And then, find yourself a mentor also. Never take advice from people who you don't want to be like, or who you don't aspire to be like. Find those people that you aspire to be like and ask them, but not some guy who reads Twitter all the time, or some person who reads Twitter all the time and learns how to manage based on trend or fashion.
Yeah. I found a mentor at one point. There was someone in studio leadership that had been put in charge after a project went a little sideways. And the whole team was skeptical of this person in the beginning. They're like, why have you been put here? Like, what's going on? But a couple of years and a couple projects in, I was impressed by how they were able to sort of like over time win the trust of the team through just directness and honesty. And
that's the secret sauce.
Yeah.
So many people don't get. I've got a bumper sticker that I've said for years. It's just honest, direct, timely communication. It's the secret of management. The secret is hire the right people in the first place, because you have to manage them less. But after that, honest, direct, timely communication. When you see something that they're doing that you don't like or that you like, you tell them right away, right? While it's fresh. Otherwise, try and tell a dog, don't poop in the house, the next day when you find it. It doesn't work. You're telling them, what are you doing? You shouldn't have done it. It's like, what? What are you talking about? So as soon as you see something either positive or negative, try and follow up with it. Just that simple thing alone,
Yeah, for sure.
To managing a studio or a team. It's that if you see something, say something thing. Like, I don't want to work in a studio that behaves this way. So let's not. But a lot of people, they need to find their voice. It's okay to speak up and say, this is what I want. This is what I think is right.
Yeah, yeah, and it's tricky too in games. There's so many personality types. Like plenty of game developers are neurodivergent. Half half of us or more probably are
Yeah.
to an extent. And yeah, just learning to communicate well, like across the range of personality types. You've got real like alpha people in there and
Sure.
very quiet people, and like making sure everyone's getting served and taken care of.
Meeting them where they are and understanding who you're really talking to and making them feel like you're truly listening to them and hearing them, and actually give a crap and stuff. And yeah, it's interesting. The neurodivergent is absolutely part of my history as well. Meaning working with a lot of different people and learning how to communicate with them so they can hear you, right? It's a big deal and it takes time. And a lot of people, it's like you hear about crunch all the time. You hear about, it's like, oh my God, I've got to take time to actually manage somebody well. You got to be kidding. I've got like 30 assets I got to make.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to invest. It turns out you have to invest because when you do, the benefits are enormous. I've made some big investments in people, long-term investments that have really paid off. And to see their careers blossom, or even with me, people like, oh, first art director at Hairbrained Schemes, on our little mobile game, and suddenly becoming this powerhouse game director, stuff like that. Another one of our art directors at Hairbrained Schemes did the same thing, like just followed suit, doing cool
Awesome.
stuff. I don't know. I'm not sure what's much better than that. It's not review scores. I know that.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to be surrounded by like ultra talented people and be inspired by them and have their passion drive your passion. I know I felt that in spades back at FASA for sure.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that you probably didn't know then that'll probably be really obvious to you now at this, late date in your career is, like I said before, hiring is critically important. And so hiring for that, hiring for people that want to do great work, that want to communicate, that want to work as a team with people that value collaboration, that enjoy hearing feedback and aren't afraid to give it. You have to hire for those people. It's all human algebra to create a really successful studio that is self-perpetuating and you don't get a diaspora at the end of every project and stuff like that. To get something where there's a sense of belonging and community, and caring, it starts with the interview process. It really does.
Yeah. Let me ask you a little bit about that. Like, I think of, one of the functions of the interview process is to weed out assholes. Nobody wants to work.
That's the phone screen.
That's like the minimum bar, right? No one wants to work with an anger management person or just a jerk or someone that's rude and unpleasant to be around.
True.
We spend so much of our waking lives at our job amongst people.
Well done.
But clearing that bar, assuming we're able, and sometimes that's hard to do. People are can be tricky. But from there, it's like you're kind of selecting for, sort of the inverse of that, right? It like life is awesome when you really care about and enjoy the people that you're around. So part of it is kind of like personality stuff. You want to work with people that you like. Part of it is talent. You want to work with people that kick ass and are just great at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance those things? Ideally, it's a slam dunk and you can get both, but do you weigh one more important than the other? Sort of.
That's an interesting way of thinking about it in terms of balancing. It's just, for me, I don't think of it as a balance. I think of it as a set of standards, right? And there are these standards. You either meet them or you don't, right? So let's start with the quality bar, right? So we've both interviewed many artists in our time. You look at their portfolio, this is good enough of somebody to talk to. And you actually see their work and they show you, this is what I did in this screenshot. This is what I didn't do in this screenshot, etc. And you get on a call and you talk to them. And the interview process that I developed at Hairbrained Schemes, it's all about, okay, do they have the talent we want? Yes. Who cares where they are in their career, right? Whether they're junior or not, can they do the work, right? Because you don't hire for experience, you hire for talent and character. So the first thing is, are they talented? We determine, yes, they are talented. Great. Phone screen, asshole. No, not an asshole. Okay, great. And then it's a matter of, and I think you probably already know this, about asking them to tell you stories. Tell me a story about your last project when something didn't go well and how you handled it. Tell me a story about a time when you had a disagreement with somebody from another department and how you handled it. And it's those stories that are the critical part. They call it behavioral interviewing. And what you just learn is, past behavior is an indicator of future behavior. And past behavior is an indicator of who this person actually is versus these bullshit hypotheticals that you get in a lot of interviews. It's like, well, how would you do this? And then they tell you this, they weave this grand story of something they read in the internet and how they would do it. And you learn jack from that.
Yeah.
Get them to tell you stories about times, who is your favorite manager and why? Let them tell you about that. And like, okay, who is the manager that you respected least and why, et cetera? Well, one of the things I do often is, this is really helpful for me, is describe the culture of these last two companies you were at, right? And the way they describe the culture tells you how they feel about it, what was successful and unsuccessful, and then you can gauge how would they work in yours. And then also we would have, that's what I did in my interviews. I always did the last interview, but we had an interview session. There were 5 interviews you had to do to get into Hairbrained Schemes. And the 4th was called Respect and Collaboration. And it was a cross, discipline group who would just ask you questions about working with humans and stuff. And so we'd have people from marginalized groups in there to help see, when somebody from a marginalized group asks you a question, do you turn to the white guy and answer it? That would happen a lot. Yeah. Like, I'll talk to you. So you learn a lot that way too. So that's what's worked for me.
Okay. One little twist on the hiring process I've leaned into a little bit lately, and just talking about, like, ethical companies and treating people humanely.
Yeah.
For those that didn't make the cut, who have applied and the talent, or what they have to show isn't there yet.
Yeah.
I've offered to, in their rejection letter, I offered to do a portfolio review with them and talk to them about, because I think, so often kids get out of school and like they apply to 50 places, they get a bunch of no's, then they haven't like grown that muscle yet. That is a comparative analysis. Like they don't understand where they fit amongst the competition. Right. And if they've gone to school and learned to do some things, but not at a high enough level that's getting them hired, they're just kind of in the dark, right? They don't really have any context or know why they're getting rejected. So, and some people have taken me up on it, and I think they've been really appreciative.
It's real kindness. Yeah, that goes back to honest, direct, timely feedback, right? It's the same thing. I believe that customer service begins, before. And I say customer service because I used to train people on customer service, but treating people right involves treating candidates right when they apply, during the process, because sometimes it takes a while, and let them know, hey, just want to let you know we're still interviewing people, we're still interested in you, that kind of thing. That communication during a hiring process, and at the end, hey, no, it didn't work out. They really liked you. Unfortunately, you're not right for the role for this reason. That's very helpful too. And again, it just shows your company in a positive light. And a lot of times I've said to people, or our recruiter has said to people on our behalf, please apply again in the future. We really appreciated you. It's just not the right fit this time. And that's a big deal to me too, because when you find a quality individual, hopefully you want to listen, you want to work with them at some point. So you never know. Maybe this project, maybe next one.
Yeah. We recommend that too. Apply again in the future.
Yeah.
Even the occasional person that applies and doesn't do effects at all, which is all our company is. If you learn effects, then make some work samples and
Cool.
try again.
Get some talent.
Right. Let's go back to your beginnings. What was your first game console, or if you were a PC gamer in the beginning, what was the first game that really like took your imagination and turned you into a lifelong gamer?
Well, my first game was Pong.
Okay, it's the Sears Pong.
Yeah, like that, black and white. This unit plays Pong and handball. That's what it does. And turned to Channel 3. Went to a friend's house, played the Atari 2600, and then I didn't have stuff. Friends had stuff, right?
Yeah, me too.
I'd go to a friend's house and they'd have an NES, and then a friend got I think a 486.
Ooh.
And he got Wing Commander 2.
Ooh.
And it was Wing Commander. And it was sprite-based, but I didn't know it was sprite-based. It was just like, spaceships, I'm fighting. And I think that's what kind of lit the fire for me was Wing Commander, right? Because at the time I was still mega Star Wars nerd.
Yeah.
All I wanted was to play Star Wars. X-Wing or TIE Fighter was one of those games. TIE Fighter actually really, and that was the same era. We're really close, because Wing Commander and X-Wing came out near each other. But X-Wing was like really 3D. I'm like, oh my God, this blows my freaking mind. But it was when in the TIE Fighter game, you're going for your mission briefing, and the shadowy figure appears in the corner, right? And you could click on him. Like, who's this guy? And it turns out like this is like the shadow of the Emperor. He's like a, secret dark force guy, and he would give you bonus mission objectives to do. It's like, do everything your commander says, but also do this, and the Emperor will like it. And you get a tattoo, and your tattoo would grow. I thought that was the single coolest thing in the world. And I think that's when I really said, okay, I want to make games.
Hell yeah. Have you played the latest Rogue Squadron, I think it was, that you can play not only with the HOTAS, if that's how you pronounce it, but also in VR? I was super pumped to try that out.
No, I should give that a shot. I'm afraid of it, but yeah, who knows? But yeah, that's really cool. No, the bloom is off the rose with Star Wars for me right now.
Okay.
And it's gonna be hard to win that one back.
Yeah, it's a different era now. They're with the Disney buyout, and they're cranking out so much.
Yeah,
and Andor was really cool. Still, I thought that had a dark, edgy. It felt like
loved it.
Star Wars for grown-ups.
It's like when I was growing up, Star Wars was 4-color comics. Sort of, it was Flash Gordon, right?
Yeah.
And then over time, the fans. So I was 12 when Star Wars came out. I saw it July 4th, 1977. It was a seminal moment in my life.
Yeah.
But those fans who were 12, 14, whatever at the time, then grew up. And then their fandom had to grow up with it. And they, I think that's a lot of what happened. It's like, okay, now what if Star Wars was something I would like now? I would like now. And so I think that's what happened, at least part of it. And that's also, I think, why a lot of fandom gets really pissy when you fuck with their inner 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds. It's like,
yeah.
And then you did something, and that negates my experience then. And that's, I say it kind of flippantly, but that's a real thing. I understand why people care about their fandom so much. It means something to them. Often it got them through a hard part of their lives and stuff. And that, kind of screws with some core stuff. I get it.
Yeah, for sure. What are you playing these days? Are you still an avid gamer? Are you still what are you addicted to right now?
I am unfortunately addicted. I am Baldur's Gate Like
Oh yeah, baby.
ass over feet. Oh my God, I play so much Baldur's Gate. It's embarrassing.
Oh, amazing.
Midnight, I'll be texting my daughter and one of her besties from grammar school. Like, oh my God, I'm doing this right now. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm texting you at midnight. They're like, no, get it. It's like, don't take that option. So yeah, me and Baldur's Gate are real tight right now.
Nice. I've got 2 games going. One with my kiddo on the West Coast,
That's
and
good.
that's been a joy to just spend time because we don't really talk on the phone much,
Yeah.
but it's nice to just get into the game and do stupid shit together.
Oh yeah, I'm playing a paper and pencil tabletop role playing game with 2 of my 3 kids now.
Okay, which one?
It's a variant. Have you heard of a game called Blades in the Dark?
I've not. No.
It's a pretty interesting game. It's a caper game. Imagine you're all thieves, and the games are all about stealing stuff, which sounds great to me. This is a variant of that. That's kind of like this sort of Italian city-state sort of Borgia sort of feel, but sort of like Lies of Locke Lamore, if you know that novel at all. So it's like Game of Thrones meets Bridgerton.
Cool. Fun.
And so we play, with manners and swords, but there's also magic in it and stuff. It's pretty neat. It's not crunchy. It's not like loot bodies and stuff like that. It's more character and plot based, but a lot of fun.
Nice,
so,
nice. Yeah,
I played a fair amount of Diablo 4 also.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Diablo 4 was amazing. I really loved it. I loved it a lot.
I didn't finish it. I started to get some fatigue with it. Now that is a great drop-in, drop-out co-op experience.
Yeah. I recommend it doesn't take a ton of time. I recommend finishing the single player. Like it ends strong. The like cinematics you get to, or like
I like the muscle memory of it. I like the rhythm of the combat. Very different, obviously, than Baldur's Gate. So when I finished Baldur's Gate, I'm taking my time. I'm a loot goblin, or I click on etc. So, and I'll play the same combat over. Like, nah, I can do better with that and stuff. Oh, save scum. Oh my God, I'm that guy. Like, I'm not shooting anybody but myself.
Taking another pivot. Asking what the favorite game that you worked on is kind of like asking, which is your favorite child. So,
yeah.
let me ask it a different way. Which game that you worked on led to you learning the most and growing the most as a leader? And give some things that you've held on to from that time.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the one I learned the most as a leader is the one you were on, the Shadowrun first person shooter.
Okay.
That was because that was the largest game I had ever done at the time. My biggest game before that was maybe 50 people, something like that. And our team got up to over 100, right? And that was about 105, I think, when all was said and done. So that was big. Running a studio that size or a team that size was really rough, learning to scale that. I think before you got on the project, we had gone through a dark time, as happens on game projects. It's like, oh, okay, going to have to make some adjustments. And I made some major adjustments on that. And one of the big adjustments that I made was we had one producer on the project. Very talented guy, Sean Gilmore. Very talented guy, but he was alone. And I was determined to fix that because, we had one producer for 50 is wrong. One producer for 100, you got to be 30. I remember taking such shit from members of the studio because I expanded the production team to 5.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is a sensible growth.
It's still light. The rule of thumb now is one producer for every 10 developers. So I had one for every 20.
Yeah.
But anyway, but it did go through a dark time. And at one point, Dana actually did me one of the biggest professional courtesies of my life. And she ran a post-mortem mid-project.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I hired her to come in as the lead producer. And one of the things that I love about her, one of her great sort of natural talents is she's fearless. And so she comes in and she starts poking her nose in things and realizing, oh, there's some management problems here, like leadership and management problems. And so she says, I'm going to do a postmortem. And she did it. And my memory of it is that we had a results meeting where she sat me down in front of the whole studio. Again, I think this is before you joined. And she gave me the results of her research in front of everybody. Like, here are the top 5 things you're doing right. Here are the top 5 things you are doing wrong.
Wow. Ouch.
And I just got to take fucking medicine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did. I took my medicine and I changed and everything on it. I did everything, it's like, you're doing this wrong or you're doing that wrong or you need to start doing this. And everything that was on the report, I did.
Do you remember any of the line items? Can you give us one, or not to pick it up?
No, it's fine. No, I'm healed. It's okay. I mean, I've got across my back, but we're fine. No, I think there was one about accountability. I was not holding some members of the studio accountable. That kind of thing. This happens on game teams, especially like, the game director, the guy, or the executive producer in this case. It's like, okay, like I've got some favorite team members, right? People I trust and respect and really care about, and they can do no wrong,
Yeah.
And no, they need their honest, direct feedback too. And at least one of them wasn't getting it, wasn't getting the feedback that in this case he needed, right, to be successful at his job. So that was one, accountability. As a general statement, I was good at accountability, except for a couple of people. And that's one of the things I changed, which is no. Accountability is across the board. Yeah.
For sure.
No one is above the law.
I noticed you've got a tattoo on your arm. I have only 2. The first one I got right after we shipped Shadowrun.
That's awesome.
The other one I got with my wife just recently, about a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Tell us about yours. What is your tattoo?
I don't know if you can see it. It says improvise, adapt, overcome.
All right. Yeah, that's your
50th birthday. It's just my statement. Frankly, it was about entrepreneurship. It was just like I was running the company and there were all sorts of bumps and there was always something, right? You're running a mid-size independent game company. There's always something going on. And it just was important to me. It was important to me that people understand that's how you do it. It's like, just be in the moment, figure out what needs doing, freaking do it. Stop your whining, take action. Action now is better than perfection. Waiting for perfection, stuff like that.
Yeah. As someone who's been through the ropes as an entrepreneur, who's created companies, sold companies, and as someone new at the games, running my first company, we're about 6 years in. Do you have any advice for me? That some things that you would have wished people would have told you in the beginning when you started this up?
Well, I think it's a matter of understanding what value you really bring, what differentiates you really, and really focusing on that. When we started Hairbrained Schemes, we called it Hairbrained Schemes for a reason, because we were tired of people telling us what to do. We just wanted to make anything we wanted, like just anything, which is great. It's very ADHD, but, the truth is, I mean, the other, tattoo should be focus equals quality. And we did not focus Hairbrained Schemes on turn-based tactical combat as early as we should have, and on building on those RPGs as early as we should have, right? So we branched out and tried this and tried that, as opposed to getting, sort of at an expert level earlier. That's a thing I can think of.
Okay.
other than that, it's all about cash flow.
Yeah.
Talk to somebody else about that.
Okay. I asked the Shadowrun community before this call if they had any questions for for you, Mitch. One thing that came up was I'm going to kind of paraphrase and mix a couple of things into one.
Yeah. My palms are sweating now. What?
So there was talk about that we have a really passionate community out there still. They're still running tournaments.
Yeah.
But they have cobbled together the ability to play this game for which the servers went down, a long time ago.
Yeah.
They have found a way, amazingly, and it's still going on, but it is at risk of shutting down forever. I think you need a Games for Windows Live key, and there are ways to get those. They're running out. So if you have the ear of the person at Microsoft, the archivist, the person responsible for archiving and keeping games alive, what would you say to him?
What would I say to him? Let the people have what they want.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say to them other than that. I think the people that have stayed with the game, I really appreciate. I think they really do honor to especially the design team who did such magical work on the game. There's so much subtlety to the gameplay of that game that a lot of those fans, when we were on that live stream, I saw them, some of their questions like, oh, wow, you get it. Just how long it takes to destroy a tree of life versus the rate of, time it takes to heal from the tree of life. Yes, we thought through all that stuff, pretty impressive. But no, I don't know what to say to the archivists other than let the people have what they want.
Yeah, I'd just add into that too. Just if there's, it is a magnificent game. It is. I worked on much bigger, more known titles since. Shadowrun still has my heart as the favorite game I've ever worked on.
Yeah,
and it is a magnificent game. Keep it alive, whatever it takes. If it, giving out games for Windows keys or I don't know. A remaster, a updates to just get compatibility on the new
stuff. People at a mega corporation like Microsoft, they've got so many pressures on them. The idea of helping out a little community like this, it's like, oh my God, it's so out of sight, out of mind. It's like, when I was at Microsoft, no joke, 100 emails an hour. Right?
Yeah.
It's your inbox. It's constantly. It's like, can I make it so I don't have a scroll bar on my email? That was your goal for the day,
Yeah.
So the idea of, I'm going to help out these people, it's like, you got to be fucking kidding. I've got 100 emails coming in while I'm reading yours. So no, probably not going to happen.
Yeah, that's probable. Although I do understand that there is someone at Microsoft who that is their job, and as a game archivist, to make sure that the old games stay live. So
yeah,
whoever you are, keep it up. Consider Shadowrun. Keep it alive. Mitch, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to see you, and thanks for bringing up some amazing memories.
Awesome. Thanks to the whole Architects of Imagination team. Martika Barra, our executive producer. Till next time, we'll see you later.